Well, hey, everybody, welcome to church. And thank you for joining us this weekend. All of our locations, we are one church gathered together across what we call Journey City, our region. And for all of you who are in one of our rooms today, glad you came to church today. And all of you joining us online, we're glad you're on vacation today. I don't know. It's just, we're glad you're here wherever you're joining us from. We are starting a brand new series today. So if you're new to the journey, maybe you've been coming off and on, or maybe this is even like your first or second time here. Big welcome to you. You chose a great Sunday to come, because for the next 3 weeks, we are actually going to look at 3 stories that Jesus told that are preserved for us in the Bible that I really believe capture the heart of God toward us and toward all of the other people around us. We're going to talk about these 3 stories that Jesus told that are stories about things that were lost and then were found. And whatever our background with church, whatever our experience has been like up until this point in our lives, maybe with God or church, maybe we're devoted followers of Jesus, maybe we're new to our faith, somewhere in between, I think all of us can resonate with, or it resonates with us, what's underneath these stories, because it's a question we all wrestle with when we feel lost in life. Not necessarily physically lost, but relationally or emotionally or spiritually lost. We wonder, can I find my way back? Am I going to be able to get back to a place of sanity or clarity or purpose or hope? Can I find the way home? And by the end of this series, if you are searching spiritually, if you are trying to, if we're in a season, let me put it this way, when God is calling a lot of people to himself. And maybe you're feeling that, you're experiencing that, and you're like, I don't even like you saying that. It freaks me out, but it's happening. And if that's you, I hope by the end of this series that you will get a picture of what it can look like for you to come home to God. There is something that God has placed inside every human being. It's kind of like a honing beacon. It draws us back to him. And if you're feeling that today, I hope this series can really give you a picture of that. And then for all of us who have found our way home to God, meaning we've been found by God, I hope you can see what it will look like, what it must look like really for us to join God in his rescue mission, in his search for people who are lost. So I was a little kid, about 5 or 6. We lived in a very rural area. We lived in a town called Maynard, actually. Population like 603. And out in the country. And there was a cornfield down the road from our house. And I have an older brother. And one day he and his friend decided that it would be fun to play hide and seek in this cornfield. It was like late in the summer. The corn was really tall. And I begged and begged. I did a lot of this as a kid, like begging my older brother, older sister to let me hang out with them, and I was very annoying, and they usually didn't want me around, but on this particular day, they decided they would let me come along, and I was about 3 foot tall at the time, and so the corn was way over my head, but I was not about to wimp out. I was like, I can do this, I can play hide and seek, and I should have probably found it strange that I was the first one to close my eyes and count. But when I thought everything was going fine until after I was seeking for a few minutes, they were nowhere to be found. And everywhere I looked, it was just corn. I was a child of the corn. I've never watched that movie, but I understand from back in the day that I should not watch that movie. So, but it was terrifying, honestly. It just felt like it's like middle of the day, but when you're 5 or 6 years old, it felt like dark clouds began to roll in, and I am not ashamed to say I got freaked out. I started screaming and crying. I'm running around this cornfield, no idea where I am. My big brother had left me there, lost, and he and his friend had gone back to the house. Now, thankfully, my mom eventually asked him, hey, where's your little brother? And when he said, I left him in the cornfield, she made him come back to get me. Thank you, Mom. Things could have turned out so differently if you had not had the presence of mind. And I just got to tell you, I didn't go into a cornfield for many, many years after that. I mean, I was traumatized. In fact, when my daughter was little, we decided to do a corn maze. We were at one of those like farms harvest kind of thing, and they had a corn maze. And we went in there, and I was like, I'm good. I'm an adult male now, and I've got this all together. And when we couldn't find our way out after a few minutes, I felt that feeling just creep back in, and my 9-year-old was encouraging me. It's going to be okay, Dad. We'll get out of here. Everything's going to be fine. Do you need me to just hold you? Like, what do you need? I was just traumatized because I was lost, and there's no feeling like it. When you're disconnected from what and who matters most, and you know it's not going to be an easy road to get back to where you need to be. And many of us, we find ourselves there. We even feel lost. It's strange to say it this way, but disconnected from ourselves, our true selves. We're like, I just don't even feel right in my own skin. Like, there's just something is off. I don't have clarity about my path in life. It's something a lot of us can relate to. And that's why Jesus tells these 3 stories, or parables as they're sometimes called, that we're going to look at during this series. But before we hear the first one, the setting is important. So this is the setting for all 3 stories that we're going to dive into throughout the series. And of course, you've probably heard of the third one. It's pretty famous. But the setting is important. Here's what we read. This is in Luke chapter 15. Tax collectors, so IRS agents, and other notorious sinners. That always cracks me up. And if you work for the IRS, things have changed, I'm sure. But in Jesus' day, tax collectors were not good people. They were always corrupt. That's the only way they could make a profit, make a living, was to be corrupt. So Rome basically said, you tax the people, all the taxes come to us. Whatever overhead you add, that's for you. So you can imagine how corrupt it was. So tax collectors and other notorious sinners often came to listen to Jesus teach. And this made the Pharisees and teachers of religious law complain that he was associating with such sinful people, even eating with them. You know, it was like, I can't believe he's like sitting down to lunch with these sinners. So on one side, you have all these religious outsiders, right? You have these not just sinners, notorious sinners. It's like a motorcycle gang, you know, the notorious sinners. It's bear with me, I have never been in a motorcycle gang. I have fantasized about it many times, but I have never actually been. I have drove one motorcycle and I fell off. It's another story for another message. But you have these, they're not just sinners. These are like capital S sinners, right? They're notorious sinners. You have tax collectors and you have tax evaders. All in the same room. Prostitutes and pimps. Adulterers and idolaters. Liars and thieves. Wild partiers and wily politicians. Maybe even a murderer or two thrown in for good measure. I mean, these are bad boys and girls. And on the other side, you have, the opposite. This is a study in opposites. You have all the rule keepers. And not just the rule keepers, but the rule makers. You have these religious people, these very religious people. They are the Pharisees and the teachers of religious law. And before Jesus showed up, the Pharisees and the teachers of religious law called the shots spiritually. They decided who was in and who was out. They decided who God considered worthy and who God did not consider worthy. And notorious sinners are in the not category. Okay, so that's who's gathered around Jesus as he's teaching. And Luke does not downplay either side's condition. So he does not take sides. He does not say, there were some people there who had made some bad decisions, but they were good people. No, he says there were notorious sinners, but he also says they came to listen to Jesus. So I don't know today how many of us, all of our locations online, how many of us are notorious sinners? I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand. I think that'd be a little weird if you're like, yep, notorious. Google me, So I don't know how many of us are notorious sinners and how many of us are just kind of run-of-the-mill sinners. I don't know how many of us are we're not bad sinners. I do know all of us are sinners. That I know for sure. I also know God does not evaluate sin the same way we do. We evaluate sin by who did it. If someone else did it, it's very bad. If we did it, it's just, we're not perfect. So we're all sinners. But I don't know how many of us are notorious for it. Like you've got a rap sheet, you've got a resume, you've got you can tell some stories. But if that's you, welcome to church. Welcome to church. Now, I want to be clear. It's not because we celebrate sinning. It's because we celebrate anyone who decides to listen to Jesus. It's harder to sin when you're listening to Jesus. And for these people, they're like, you know what? We have lived a life where we chased after whatever felt best in the moment, but we have found someone more compelling than the something we used to worship. And if that's you today, welcome to church. Feel free to come as often as you like, because that's what Luke says. He's like, it's not a one-off. They came often to listen to Jesus teach, which means they didn't stop becoming notorious sinners the first time. It took some time, and it does take time for some of us to come to our senses. We'll talk about that week 3 of the series. But Luke also does not say, there were some religious people here, and by and large, they're just misunderstood. No, he says, let me tell you about the religious people. They complained about Jesus. How many know complaining is generally not a good habit? How many know complaining about the Son of God is a bad idea? Like, it's a bad idea. And no matter how religious you are, there's no way to compensate for complaining about Jesus. And this actually tracks, because what it says to me is that the religious people were not listening to Jesus. It's harder to sin when you're listening to Jesus. It's also harder to complain. We resent whatever God's trying to do that we're determined to resist. Whatever God is trying to do in your life, if over time you don't surrender to what he's trying to do, you will resent what he's trying to do. And that is the Pharisees and religious teachers. They're like, we cannot accept him, and so we are going to find fault with everything. And it's usually not long when we stop listening to Jesus before we start complaining about the people or things that Jesus cares about. And when we think we've done something to earn God's grace, usually it's very difficult for us to see someone else receive it for free. If we think, well, I'm a Christian because I am a good person, then when we see a notorious sinner listening to Jesus, and Jesus is like, let's have fish tacos. Remember, he was eating with them. Something's going to rise up in our spirit. We're like, they took my seat. That's where I sit. And I don't think they love Jesus as much as I love Jesus. And something's going to rise up in us, and we will become very bristly when somebody else is receiving the grace of God. Pay attention to your spirit as you follow Jesus. Because when your spirit becomes a little judgmental and sideways and resentful, what it typically means is you stopped listening to Jesus and started listening to religion. So there are sinners listening, there are religious people complaining about Jesus, there are fish tacos going around, everything's going on. And Jesus tells this story. He decides his response to the notorious sinners and the complaining religious people is to tell a story about how he wants everyone to find the way home to God. And here's how it starts. And Jesus often starts with questions, by the way. He says, if a man has 100 sheep and one of them gets lost, what will he do? And the answer is, it depends. Now, everyone listening to Jesus, notorious sinner, religious, doesn't matter. They know the right answer, right? He will try to find it. All of us immediately are like, okay, if a guy has 100 sheep and one gets lost, he's going to try to find it. If he's worth anything as a shepherd, as someone who's responsible for the sheep, he's going to try to find that one sheep. Anybody been around sheep? Anybody? Show of hands if you've been around sheep. Okay, a couple people have been around sheep. I have not been around sheep. I do have a wool sweater. I don't know if that makes me an expert, but I have one wool sweater. So I feel like that qualifies me to talk about sheep. But it's very different, right? Most of us have not been around sheep. In Jesus' time, everyone had been around sheep. And it was just part of the culture. If you were a shepherd, so sheep were very valuable, and if you were a shepherd and these were your sheep, like if you owned the sheep, this was your flock, then this was your livelihood. And one gets lost, it's a big deal. Everything else is put on pause while you find the one. And if you work for someone else who owned the sheep, you knew that your job was on the line because you got one job. Take care of the sheep. Like that's the one job. So one getting lost mattered a lot. Have you noticed, wherever you land with spiritual things, have you noticed that people matter less and less in our world these days? And you can tell by how we respond or don't when one gets lost. We are just, we have a PhD in writing people off, don't we? We are just canceling everybody and writing everybody off. We're like, Oh, are you lost? I mean, let's just make sure you're really lost. It's like we have just, something's happened to us. Our collective humanity has been reduced until we don't see the value in a human life. And we are very good at getting our 99 and being like, this is my 99. You're lost. That's your problem. I got my tribe. I got my crew. I got my group. And we like these things and don't like those things. And if you don't like that, and we hate you. You can just stay lost. So when Jesus asks, what will he do? Everybody listening to him, they know the right answer, but they also know it depends on what kind of person he is. Man has 100 sheep and he loses one. What will he do? Well, it depends. Does he understand the value of one? See, this isn't a story about sheep. It's a story about us. And it's a story about God. And here's Jesus' answer to his own question. Won't he leave the 99 others in the wilderness and go to search for the one that is lost until he finds it? And I never really even noticed this before, but we talk often about leaving the comfort of the 99, but according to Jesus, the 99 still have needs. They're in the wilderness. But he's still not going to wait until the 99 have everything they think they need to go searching for the one that is lost. When our son Connor was little, he got lost on a cruise ship, and might not have been a big deal except that he has autism, and so at the time especially, he did not have very much language, very much social awareness, and I will never forget the terrible feeling in the pit of my stomach when we couldn't find him right away. And a few minutes went by. It actually took over 30 minutes to find him, which felt like a year. And I got to tell you, like, nothing else mattered. I was not like, I wonder what we're having for dinner tonight. Or what the show is later this evening. Is it worth going to? I was not thinking about, man, are cruise cabins ever small? Now, that's true. But that's not what I was thinking about. That wasn't even on my mind. I wasn't thinking about how many days were left on the cruise, the excursion we had planned. I wasn't thinking about any of that. I just wanted to find my son. And in that moment, there were 3,000 or whatever people on that ship. You were either helping me or you were in my way. Those were the two options. You say, well, that's rude. Not when your kid's lost. And there was a crew member printing out photos of our son and passing them out to people. And I remember seeing the difference between the people who paid no attention and the people who took one and look of concern, and they started looking around. That's how God feels about you when you're lost. And that's why God sent Jesus to find people. That is the reason he came. Whatever you've heard, and whatever any church person or Christian has tried to tell you is the reason he came, he said that was the reason he came. To seek and to save those who are lost. It's the reason he went to a cross and died for the forgiveness of our sins. He did not come to just teach good morals. He did not come just to start a religion. He came on a rescue mission for the lost. He came for people who know they're lost and people who haven't realized it yet, which might be some of us. He came looking, he came searching, he came to show all of us the way home. He knew that we couldn't get to God or back to God on our own, so he came to search for us until we were found. And now through faith in Jesus, we can find the way home. That's the good news about Jesus. That's why he came. Never forget it. I know once you've been found for a while, it's easy to come up with all kinds of other reasons you think Jesus came. But this is why he came. To find people. People who need to find him. But for all of us who are part of the 99, who aren't lost anymore, It's a little tough. Can we just admit, for all of us who've been following Jesus for a while, it's a little bit tough when our shepherd says, hey, I know you're still in the wilderness. Know all your problems aren't solved yet. Know you got issues. I know you have trouble at work. I know you're having issues with your kids. I know the finances are tight. I know you got some health things, and that matters very much to me. I got somebody lost, though. I'll be back. That's hard for us, isn't it? How many of us, if we're honest, sometimes are just like, Jesus, hey, can you just, like, there are always going to be lost people, Jesus, but I need you right now. And Jesus says, well, you're only going to be in the wilderness for a while, and then I'm going to take you to a place where you'll never have any problems, but they're only going to be lost people for a while. So is it okay if I go searching? Actually, he doesn't ask. I don't know if he asks you. I don't know what your relationship with Jesus is like, but he's not like, hey, Mark, would it be cool? You take a few days and think about it. When Susie and I were first starting a church or trying to start a church, it wasn't working well. By the way, we had a couple kind of false starts, sort of. Only a handful of people were coming. And right in the middle of that, another church offered me a great position and offered Susie a place on the team as well. Large church, successful team, great building, great budget, everything. It was really a position I shouldn't have been offered at my age and stage of life. And they were like, we know we have to do whatever it takes to get you, and we're willing to do whatever it takes. And I was blown away. I was like, man, this is so awesome. Susie, when I told her, she was like, wow, I can't imagine that. And we were driving, and we drove for like 40 minutes in silence, just kind of like, wow, God, is this a door you're opening for us? And then Susie asked a question that ruined everything. She said, what about Brian? Brian was a guy who was coming to our little church group, it's all it was, every other week. He was still trying to figure the faith thing out. And he was really the only person, we were like, okay, this might be somebody, who's actually taking steps toward Jesus. And all we could think about once she asked that question was, if we take this position, what about Brian? You want to know why hundreds of people in this church, all of our locations, serve and pray and give and show up early and stay late? Why they're in Journey Kids, helping your kids learn to know God, love God, live like he says. You know why they were serving this past Tuesday night, which, by the way, we broke our all-time record for Converge attendance in September, and then we broke it again last week. Over 400 students and people serving at Converge. You know why? You know why people play instruments and run lights and open doors and do all the behind-the-scenes stuff and lead groups? You know why? Because they have this question in their spirit. They know that God's worth it and you're worth it, and they have this question. People who serve, give their lives away for Jesus, understand, if I don't serve in kids, what about Brian? If I don't lead a group, what about Brian? If I don't play an instrument, what about Brian? If I don't step up, what about Brian? So they search for how long? Until we find every Brian we can. And by the way, I'll never forget the day, years later, Brian moved away, but years later he came back to visit, and he just said, hey, I want you to know I'm doing well. I'm following Jesus. My life has been changed. Man, it was one lost sheep. It was worth it. And God had a plan in mind that now there have been thousands of lost sheep who have found the way home. Why do we search until we find all the Brians we can? And you don't have to be named Brian, by the way. Brian, it's not why we brought you on our staff. You don't have to be named Brian. But why do we search until we find every Brian we can? Because that's how determined Jesus was to find us. I don't know about you, but I was not an easy find for Jesus. I was resistant. I was stubborn. I thought I could do things my own way. I thought I knew better than God. But he searched until. And look at this next part of the story. I love this. And when he has found it, he will joyfully carry it home on his shoulders. When he arrives, he will call together his friends and neighbors, saying, rejoice with me, bring the wings and the fish tacos, because I have found my lost sheep. If you're far from God right now, Jesus is looking for you. And when he finds you, it won't be to shame you or scold you or ruin you. It will be to place you on his shoulders and carry you home to God. And Jesus never experiences more joy than when a lost sheep is carried home to God. This is what he's all about. Jesus can't wait to change your life. Just stop running from him. Turn to him, and he will pick you up, and he will carry. He has already carried the full weight of your sin on his shoulders on the cross, but he will carry the full weight of your past, present, and future back to God. If you will just turn to the one who is searching for you. And when the shepherd finds a sheep and carries that lost sheep that's now found home, Jesus says he will call together his friends and neighbors. Who is that? All of us who once were lost, but now we're found. And he will say, rejoice with me because God sent Jesus to find people. That's what this story means. This is what Jesus celebrates, lost people being found. And it's what he wants everyone who's close to him to celebrate as well. And that's how Jesus ends the first of these three stories. In the same way, there is more joy in heaven over one lost sinner who repents and returns. They stop in their tracks, turn away from the life they've been living without God, and they return to God. There's more joy than over 99 others who are righteous, who are found and haven't strayed away. If you don't know Jesus yet, everything in the heart of God is about finding you. And when you know Jesus, Jesus says, yes, your life is being changed. You're a new person. I've made all things new. And from now on, the party's not about you. That's why some people turn away, by the way. They're like, hey, I thought I was the only person Jesus came for. And once he found me, it's like we're always glad there's a parking spot until we need it. And a lost sheep pulls in. We're always glad there was grace until it gets poured out on somebody else. And we feel like we're missing out. When we find Jesus, when we realize that he's been searching for us, and we stop resisting and we surrender our lives to him, he restores us to God. He restores us to others, to community, and he restores us to our true selves, to who we were always made and meant to be. He provides for us. He passes on his passion to us. God sent Jesus to find people, and here's what Jesus says to all of us who are found. As the Father has sent me, so I am sending you. This is how it works. What is he sending us to do? To search like he searches and to celebrate what he celebrates. And that's what kind of church this is. This is the kind of community of faith where we take our cues from heaven. We feel like it is our mission to keep the party going in heaven. Sometimes it feels like in church world, we feel like it's our mission. I don't know, I just kind of picture sometimes that in heaven there are angels and they've got like their, what do you call those things you blow on and the party? What is that? It comes out and it's not a trombone, it's not a marching band. What is that? A noisemaker. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about. Don't know a lot about sheep, and clearly I don't know a lot about parties, so. But I feel like I almost see sometimes like an angel sitting kind of dejected in the corner. The streamers kind of hanging down. Balloons, they're all deflated. There's dust. There's a display and there's dust all over it. Because not enough of us understand what makes heaven party. Jesus said, let me tell you what happens in heaven when one lost sheep comes home. I'm going to say something very challenging. But I really believe it deep in my core, and I believe it for me. I'm not just saying it to you. That I question how close we are to Jesus when we don't care most about who Jesus died for. And it's so easy to get caught up because we're in the wilderness. He left us. He did not leave us in heaven. We'd be okay if we're like, everything's perfect, go search for the lost one. He left us in the wilderness. We still have problems and issues, and yet Jesus says, here's how I want you to live this life in this world like me. I want you to search for those who are lost. I want you to be a church where every story matters. Every friend or family member that you pray for that walks through the doors, you celebrate that. Every person who puts their faith in Jesus at every location, we celebrate that. Every baptism, we celebrate that. Every student's life that's changed, we celebrate that. Why? Because God sent Jesus to find people, and Jesus sends found people to find people. As the Father has sent me, so I am sending you. So when you serve, that's what you're living out. We call that the J team here because we're very clever. Journey team. It's like we like to be very, very obvious. But really, it's not the Journey team. It's the Jesus team. It's really a search party. So what we do here, when you serve on the J team, hundreds of you across our locations, and I'm believing hundreds more in the months and years to come. When you serve, you join the search party. In fact, one of the ways that you can be decisive about believing that Jesus has changed your life is to live like him, even when you don't feel like it. And when you serve, this is what you're doing. Every role matters, every smile in the parking lot. We hear so many stories of, man, I pulled in the parking lot and somebody was smiling at me. Every kid's activity, every cup of coffee, every camera shot, every lighting cue, every musical chord that gets played, from Jesus' perspective, there are only two kinds of people: lost and found. And the lost need him, and the found assist him. There's not a middle place. You read the Bible cover to cover. There's no like, here's a neutral person. Lost and found. Searching for people is what Jesus is all about. And here's how he works. He finds people, and then he sends the people that he finds to help him find more people. And nothing feels better over the long haul than when you know you are helping Jesus do what matters most to him. That's purpose. You ever wonder why your life matters? Don't look first at your bank account. Don't look first at your calendar. Don't look first at what's parked in the driveway or what's listed on your resume. If you want to know if your life has purpose as a follower of Jesus, look at whether or not you live for what matters to him. If you haven't been to Plugged In yet, and that's why we do this. We want to help you get connected to other people, but we also want to help you find your purpose and your part in God's work. We're not asking you for 300 Sundays or 30. We're asking you for 3. And you can do them in any order, but the 3 steps of Plugged In will help you become a part of what Jesus is building. Otherwise, it's just a Sunday thing. And Jesus isn't just a Sunday thing. No one's going to stop you, by the way, if you started serving and then you kind of fell away. How many of us have ever fallen away in our lives? By a show of hands. How many of us will tell the truth in church? By a show of hands. How many of us? Yeah. Like, I'm not raising my hand as do this. I'm raising my hand because I have fallen away at times in my life. I've gotten distracted, preoccupied. It's okay. We're not going to judge you for that. We're going to celebrate that you start again. That you start fresh, because this is Jesus' definition of success. Found people helping lost people find the way home. God sent Jesus to find you, and now he's asking you to help him find people. And if you would say, I believe that, man, I'm so grateful God showed me the way home, and I'm going to live the rest of my life with an awareness of and an engagement in the mission of Jesus in this world. All of our locations, would you shoot your hand up right now? Hold it up high, boldly. Come on, if you would say, I'm with Jesus on his rescue mission. Online, you can lift your hand right where you are. Let me pray it over us. Father, we honor you, God. And Jesus, we lift you up, our good shepherd. Thank you for searching until you found us. So many of us were so far away from you. We might have even looked like on the outside we had it together, but inside we were broken and disconnected and empty. And you wouldn't stop. You sent people who were relentless. You spoke to us in ways that we just could no longer avoid or resist. And now we're found. So Jesus, the best way we know to say thank you is to live like you in this world. I pray even this week, God, we'll start seeing the people around us who don't know you the way you see them. Lost is not a judgment statement. Doctors get lost. Homeless people get lost. CEOs get lost. Movie stars get lost. Children get lost. Seniors get lost. Everybody matters to you. Give us your heart, we pray. In your name. Amen. And while you let God speak to you for a moment more, for some of you today, you are the one who's lost and searching for fulfillment and purpose. If you were honest, is wearing you out. The harder you try, the more you attempt to make sense of your life on your own, the more weary and exhausted you become on the inside. I want you to know that Jesus came for you. His death on the cross was not the death of a martyr or the death of an example only. It was a death that paid for what separates you from God. Every sin you've ever committed, everything you thought, said, or done that was less than the perfect standard of the creator of the universe, Jesus paid for it. And when you put your faith in him, you are forgiven and made new. You're found. You find the one who's been searching for you. And if you want to take that step today, I'd love to lead you in a very simple prayer. Today can be your day. So I want everyone to join me again. Open your heart up big to God. And if that's you, if you'd say, today's my day, I want to come home to God. Right where you are, all of our locations online, just whisper out a prayer of faith, something like this. Jesus, today I turn to you. I recognize that you have been searching for me and you have been drawing me to you in a million ways. I'm done resisting. I'm done rebelling. I'm done running. Jesus, I believe that you died for my sins, and I'm making you leader and Lord of my life today. From this day on, I'm going to follow you. And if that's you, while everyone around you stays focused on God, if you would say, I want to be included in that prayer, I'm putting my faith in Jesus, would you lift your hand? All of our locations, hold it up high, boldly. Yes, yes. It's amazing, thank God. Here in the room in Newark, Hokesson, Middletown. Online, you can type the word faith in the comments. If you took that step, we want to celebrate that with you. Thank God.